This is a quick disclaimer before we start this podcast. I am very sorry for the obnoxious washer in the background of some of these clips. I didn't even realize it when I recorded it. So just try to disregard it.
Hey guys, this is Reese Munbar, and today we're going to be talking about the effect on the business industry from the virus we all know and hate. COVID-19 is not a rare subject to be talked about. It's changed our lives as we know it, and there are doubts that it'll ever be the same. From online school to complete lockdown, the virus has affected each of us directly. One of the most heavily influenced aspects are the businesses of the United States. All establishments have been affected by the outbreak of COVID-19 both negatively and positively. The influence on the business world is crucial because we citizens depend on them for almost every aspect of our lives. This isn't the first time the U.S. has seen a pandemic, however, as the Spanish influenza wreaked havoc on us 100 years ago. The businesses had to make tough decisions in regards to customer appeasement, such as mandating masks and regulating the size of their workforce to stay alive. Their identity is being contemplated by the citizens through their enforcement of safety. The American people are divided by the means of precaution or disregard, and it's up to the businesses to pick a side. This being said, those who enforce masks and other safety measures are prospering more than those who aren't. To begin with, we have the concept relating to money spent when things take a downward turn at the business. If there are no masks, plexiglass, or social distancing taking place, the risk of getting infected is at the highest probability. This being said, the virus spreads like wildfire throughout the building and causes it to shut down entirely. When the company is out of order, even if it's only temporary, they lose profit, whereas those who take certain safety precautions are eligible to stay open because of the minimal opportunities to contract the germ. Take Erica Crisp from Jacksonville, for example. She and her friends chose to go to a bar that did not require masks and didn't enforce social distancing because everyone claimed the virus was over. Long story short, all 16 of them ended up getting COVID-19 and regretting their irresponsibility. Crisp stated, "I think we were careless and we went out into a public place when we should not have, and we were not wearing masks. I think we had a whole out of sight, out of mind mentality. The state opened back up and said everyone was fine, so we took advantage of that." This friend group wasn't the only victim, however, as 7 of the bar's employees came down with it as well. Because of the outbreaks, Lynch's Irish pub was closed down and thoroughly sanitized. The deep clean of the building hurt the company economically even more, as the owner hired a crew that cost $7,000. The owner said that altogether, shutting down and cleaning the bar cost him $30,000 over the weekend. $30,000 that would have still been his if he had taken better precautions. On the other hand, businesses that are online-based are thriving. Corporations like Amazon, who's made $401.1 billion over the course of these uncertain times, and Microsoft, who has made $269.9 billion, are doing exceptionally well. Amazon is known for having convenient products delivered to your door at warp speed, and with all the health-conscious people staying at home, they have a lot of time on their hands to shop. Microsoft has been benefiting immensely from the heavy reliance on Microsoft Teams for distance learning as well as meetings for certain careers like doctor's appointments. Overall, I think the companies that are doing the most for the well-being of the people are going to receive the most amount of support, and those that are online-based, where there isn't any interactions at all, are also thriving.
We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
We all know that times are uncertain right now, but we're here to help with the process. We know you want things to get back to normal, and that's why we're doing our best to bring clean hands to the American people. Purell hand sanitizer will help you and your loved ones be one step further from COVID-19's grasp. Being named America's #1 hand sanitizer brand, we take the health of our customers very seriously. This being said, one squirt of our product kills 99.99% of illness-causing germs without damaging your skin. For those in the business industry, we have hand sanitizer dispensers, making it easy for customers and employees to keep their hands nice and clean during the raging spread of the pandemic. Let's face it, everyone has an abundant supply of masks, but people are lacking in proper cleanliness when it comes to their hands. Since 1988, when the Littmans brought this company to life, the well-being of the citizens of the United States has been our #1 priority. Frontline essential workers place their trust in our brand, and you should too.
Next, we have the wariness of employees to work at a place that has little administration of the protection of them and their customers. COVID-19 affects people in different ways, and it's more harmful to some than others. If a girl in her 20s has a grandfather with pre-existing conditions that she sees regularly, she's less likely to work at a place that puts little to no effort into precautionary measures. Employees have to make the tough decision of choosing between money and the safety of their loved ones. The Washington Post stated that the largest share of complaints came from healthcare workers. Some have been given plastic ponchos and masks made out of paper towels. Others report a lack of hand sanitizer or soap. Pharmacists and technicians have been forced to work in proximity without protective gear, but the complaints span a broad variety of workplaces such as Yosemite National Park, factories, and funeral homes. With workers being worried about their health, it brings about a sense of instability within a business. The workforce of the United States in general is not in a good state, being as though unemployment skyrocketed to 23.08 million in April of 2020. While it made its way down to 11.06 million in October, the virus hasn't gotten any less devastating for companies. According to the National Bureau of Economic Research, 43% of small businesses are now temporarily closed, and the ones that aren't are financially fragile due to the small number of customers. The average small business withholds more than $10,000 in monthly expenses, which is very hard to accumulate with little business. A majority of them sought funding through the CARES Act, but they struggled with accessing aid such as bureaucratic hassles and difficulties establishing eligibility. With this in mind, people are still hesitant to engage in everyday activities in general, let alone ones that have no means of stopping the spread. If businesses do their best to acknowledge the state of the world right now and accommodate their services to the health of the people, they will get more traffic. Referring back to the factor of reluctant employees, Kelly Mumbauer is a prime example. She usually works a part-time job at a retail clothing store, but because COVID-19 struck, it was temporarily shut down. When they opened back up, she reached out and let them know that she won't be coming back. I'm going to have her here today to ask a few questions about why she turned down the opportunity to return to the job she loved. How long have you been working as a supervisor at said retail clothing store?
I've worked for the company, it would be 2 years in April of this year.
Alright. What was the main reason that you chose not to go back?
The main reason I chose not to go back was because I was concerned about the safety of my family and the precautions that were being taken were not sufficient for what I thought would allow me to go back to work.
Alright, what was their reaction to your rejection?
Well, I work with a great team who is very understanding, and they know we're in very uncertain times right now, and so they had stated that when things do get better and feel a little bit more secure and everything, that I'm welcome to return.
Alright, do you ever regret not returning?
I miss my job and I miss my coworkers, and I would love to go back, and I'm hoping that eventually in time I will.
Under what circumstances would you consider rejoining the staff?
Well, there's really two things that could really kind of change my mind on this. One would be a mask mandate, making sure that anyone who stepped into the store was wearing a mask and enforcing that, or once the end of this situation and things resume normalcy.
Alright, so my next question was, what is your stance on precautions within the business? But I'm pretty sure that last one just answered it. So thank you for coming onto my show. I'm sure there are more people who have a similar mentality in regards to familial safety, so the sense of employee hesitation is not giving companies with unsafe protocols the benefit of the doubt. In her case, she would have most likely gone back if they were following certain procedures that the scientists were recommending, such as masks and limited capacity. Last but not least, the pressure from the people to change existing procedures. While the concept stems off of both previous arguments in regards to less customer traffic, this one implies the power of the people. No matter what stance the business in question upholds, consumers on both sides will be upset. Anti-maskers will argue that it's an infringement on their constitutional rights, while pro-maskers argue for the well-being of the masses regardless. One circumstance in specific in which the masses swayed a corporation's decision is AMC. Initially, the movie theater chain decided that masks would be optional, saying that the decision not to wear masks was made in an effort to avoid politics, but it was soon met with an intense and immediate outcry from customers, AMC CEO Adam Aron said in a statement. It will now require all moviegoers to wear face coverings. This being said, customers that do not agree with the freelance theory of letting people continue about their day with no precautions are going to take one of these two stances: boycotting the company in general, causing them to lose business and money, or to try to raise enough support to propose that they mandate the proper precautions. For those who might be thinking that uprisings and boycotts could happen on the anti-mask side as well, Pew Research states that 65% of U.S. adults say that they have personally worn a mask in stores or other businesses all or most of the time in the past month, while 15% say that they did this some of the time. Relatively small shares of adults say they hardly ever, 9%, or never, 7%, wore a mask in the past month, and 4% say that they have not gone to these types of places. This information provides facts that lean towards more citizens caring about the transmission of COVID-19 than not. With the majority of the population participating in voluntarily wearing masks, it's safe to say that mandating masks will upset less people than letting the guidelines loose. There was one instance when I was working at the very beginning of the COVID panic where one man came in asking if the kitchen wore masks when making the food. At this point, only the front employees and the customers were required to wear masks. We told him no, and he ended up leaving. It was also around this time where I was told by my parents to be taken off the schedule, so it most likely happened more than once. If this occurrence happened in a small-town restaurant, I can only imagine a large city. All of these businesses losing customers over improper safety measures can be easily avoided with the cooperation of the business owners. If the cooks simply wore facial coverings, there would be more customers in general. All in all, the debacle in regards to the extent of safety and overall cautiousness of these businesses is a heavily debated issue. People on both sides are unwilling to cooperate with the regulations put into place for their own personal reasons. Based on past events and statistics, I believe that those who take health into consideration are gaining more commerce than those who are doing little to suppress the spread of the virus. The money spent sanitizing and shutting down any sort of interactions between the outside world and the industry far outweigh the simple statement of telling people to put on a facial covering. The reliance on staff solidifies when their health is acknowledged and prevented from being exploited by unwelcome germs. Finally, the general population would be pleased with the actions of the company and their general consideration. Because of all these factors, it's clear that the health-conscious businesses are doing exceptionally well, outweighing those who aren't.